Matthew chapter 10, Judas, some people felt he was never saved. Some people felt God has doomed him to hell even before he betrayed the Lord. That was not true. You know, God loves all men and he wants all men everywhere to be saved. And so this man, Judas, was one of the saved child of God, but eventually he became a lost slave of Satan. Look at it in Matthew chapter 10, verse 2. Matthew 10, verse 2. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these: the first, Simon, who is called Peter; Andrew, his brother; James, the brother of Zebedee; and John, his brother. And mentioned all that. Then in verse 4, he mentioned this Simon, the Canaanite, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. He didn't say who also must betray him. No, he made a choice to be the betrayer. It was not God that forced him to be the betrayer. Anyone could have betrayed Jesus. An apostle could have betrayed him. A disciple could have betrayed him. A friend that knew Jesus' face. All the Pharisees needed was someone that could identify Jesus. All the Roman soldiers needed was someone that could identify Jesus and point him out. So it's not as if it must be a closest disciple that must deny him. Yes, it will be a friend that will deny him, someone that was familiar with Jesus. So it could be one of the 70s. It could be one of the 120. It could be one of the 12. But he chose to be the one. So those mindsets saying Judas was never saved, that is not right. Judas, several things we can say about Judas. Number one, he was an apostle who became an apostate. It was his choice. That you are an apostle now. If you go down, you can turn into an apostle. Number two, Judas was called, he was chosen, he was saved. In Luke chapter 10, verse 20, we are told that when the Lord said, rejoice not because you are able to cast out the demon, but rejoice because your names are written in the book of life. And at that time, Judas was part of those. So he was saved. His name was written in the book of life. And then number three, Judas was sent to preach the gospel. In Luke chapter 9, verse 2, it told us that he called his disciples 2 by 2 and sent them to preach the gospel. And so obviously, Judas was one of these 12 that was sent and given power and authority to go and preach the gospel. He sent them to preach the gospel of the kingdom and to heal the sick. So he was sent to preach the gospel. Number 4, he was given power and authority. Luke chapter 9, verse 1. Then he called his 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure diseases. So Judas, he once had power and authority to cure diseases. Number 5, he worked miracles, signs, and wonders. In Luke chapter 10, the Bible says in verse 17, and the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. And remember, Judas was part of them. In verse 19, he said, behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by enemies hurt you. And remember, Judas was one of those given this power to work miracles, signs, and wonders. Number 6, Judas heard the most powerful messages. If somebody preached the most powerful message in the world, it must be Jesus. And Judas was there when Jesus was preaching. He heard Jesus in Matthew chapter 7, verse 28 and verse 29. And it came to pass when Jesus had ended his sayings, the teachings, the sermon on the mount, the people were astonished at his doctrine. For verse 29, for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribe. Judas had authoritative messages, powerful messages. He had the most powerful messages. Number 7, eventually Judas became an instrument of Satan. Even though he was an apostle, even though he was called, chosen, and saved, even though he was sent to preach the gospel, even though he was given power and authority, even though he worked miracles, signs, and wonders, even though he had the greatest and the most powerful messages, eventually he became an instrument of Satan. Anyone can become an instrument of Satan. That is why we are saying, be warned, beware, and check, watch over your life. Watch and pray, lest Satan take advantage of you. In John chapter 13, verse 26, Jesus answered, it is he to whom I shall give a sup When I have dipped, and when he has dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. At what point did Judas decide to be an apostate? It was when Satan entered into him. When he allowed the love of money to grab him. Remember, Judas was the trusted treasurer. He had money with him. He earned the trust of Jesus. He earned the trust of the disciple. He was saved, he was sound. Yet, he backslided. That is why we say, don't be too proud. Don't be proud at all. Don't be pompous. Don't say, I know myself. I can never fall. He said in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 12, take heed lest you fall. Don't say, I am there, I will always be there. I am saved, I will always be saved. No, that you are saved now does not mean you cannot be lost if you are careless, if you are sinful, if you are lustful, if you are prayerless. And so wake up to the reality that anyone that is saved can still be lost if you are not careful. And don't also join the people who believe so much in predestination that says, oh, the moment you backslide is because you were never saved. That's not true. You can be saved. You are not doomed to hell. But now that you are saved, you must be steadfast so you will not go to hell.